You walk into a room full of people, and while everyone else is laughing, talking, filling every silence with noise, there's someone in the corner, quiet, observing, saying almost nothing. And you think, shy, awkward, antisocial. But what if I told you that silence isn't weakness, it's a survival strategy? And the people who don't talk too much? They're carrying secrets about human nature that most people will never understand. Meet Daniel. 29 years old. Software engineer. Brilliant at his job. Goes to social events. Has friends. But he barely speaks. Not because he has nothing to say, but because somewhere along the way his brain learned that words are dangerous. Until one day his manager pulled him aside and said, "You're getting passed over for the promotion. You need to speak up more in meetings." Daniel went home and stared at his reflection, asking a question he'd been avoiding his entire life. Why can't I just talk like everyone else? The answer would unravel everything he thought he knew about himself. Because what nobody tells you about quiet people is this: their silence isn't random, strategic. And it was carved into their nervous system long before they could understand what was happening. Before we reveal what shaped Daniel, you need to understand what happens in the brain when silence becomes a default setting. In 2018, researchers at Cambridge University studied people who consistently spoke less than their peers in social situations. They found something unexpected. These individuals didn't have lower social intelligence, they actually scored higher on emotional perception tests. Their brains showed increased activity in the temporoparietal junction, the region responsible for understanding others' mental states. They weren't failing at conversation. They were reading the room at a level most people never reach. But here's the dark side. That hypervigilance, that constant scanning and analyzing, it doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from a moment when speaking up became a threat. Picture this. 6-year-old Maya runs downstairs, excited, interrupting her parents' conversation. "Mommy, guess what happened at?" "Maya, can't you see we're talking? Wait your turn." Her mother's voice is sharp, annoyed. Maya's face burns with shame. She goes quiet, shrinking into herself. In that moment, that brief, everyday moment, Maya's brain learns a lesson it will carry for the next 20 years. My voice is an interruption. My excitement is annoying. It's safer to stay quiet than to risk being too much. This is how it starts. Not with one big trauma, but with 1,000 tiny moments where speaking meant rejection, punishment, or humiliation. The brain has this threat detection system called the amygdala. In healthy development, a child learns that expressing themselves is safe. They speak and they're met with interest, validation, curiosity. But when expression is met with dismissal, mockery, or anger, the amygdala flags verbal expression as danger. The nervous system learns, silence equals safety, and the child becomes quiet. Not by choice but by survival. And here's where it gets complicated. Because that 6-year-old doesn't just grow up quiet. They grow up developing an entire personality around protecting themselves from the danger of being heard. And it looks like this. Number 5. You rehearse conversations in your head for hours but never actually have them. You plan what to say, how to say it, imagining every possible reaction. Then stay silent because none of the scenarios feel safe enough. Number 4. You're the observer, never the participant. You watch people interact like you're studying a foreign species. You notice everything, tone shifts, body language, power dynamics, but you never jump in. Number 3. When you do speak, you immediately regret it. The words leave your mouth and your brain floods with anxiety. Did I sound stupid? Did I say too much? They definitely think I'm weird now. Number 2. You have a rich inner world no one knows exists. Inside your mind, you're articulate, funny, insightful. But that version of you never makes it past your throat. Number 1. You feel like an imposter in every conversation. Like everyone else got a manual on how to be human and you're just improvising, always one sentence away from being exposed as someone who doesn't belong. Let me take you back to Daniel. When he was 8, he came home excited about a science project. He started explaining it to his father at dinner, animated, talking fast. His older brother interrupted, "Dude, nobody cares about your nerd stuff." His father laughed. Not cruelly, just casually. "Let your brother finish his food, Daniel." Daniel stopped mid-sentence. His face went hot. He looked down at his plate. And his brain learned, my enthusiasm is embarrassing. My interests are boring. It's better to say nothing than to risk being mocked. 16 years later, he's in a meeting with brilliant ideas but can't make himself speak. Because a 2020 Harvard study on selective mutism and social reticence found that 73% of adults who consistently undercommunicate in professional settings reported childhood experiences of being dismissed, interrupted, or ridiculed when they spoke. Their nervous systems learned that visibility equals vulnerability. Daniel didn't stay quiet because he was weak. He stayed quiet because to his 8-year-old brain, silence was armor. But the cruelest part isn't the silence itself. It's what the world assumes about you because of it. Meet Rachel. 26, Daniel's colleague. She's everything he's not: loud, expressive, always jumping into conversations. She likes Daniel, thinks he's smart. But she's also frustrated with him. Why doesn't he ever contribute? She complains to another coworker. It's like he doesn't care about the team. Daniel hears this through the door, and something inside him breaks. Because here's what Rachel doesn't understand. Daniel isn't silent because he doesn't care. He's silent because he cares so much that the fear of saying the wrong thing paralyzes him. A 2019 study on communication anxiety found that people who speak less aren't less invested in social outcomes, they're often more invested. Their silence isn't apathy. It's hypervigilance. They're running complex calculations. Will this comment make me look stupid? Will people think I'm showing off? What if I'm wrong? What if they judge me? By the time they've processed all the risks, the moment has passed. And the world interprets their silence as disinterest, arrogance, or incompetence, when really it's terror masquerading as calm. This is the trap quiet people live in, judged for the very thing they're doing to avoid being judged. So if this pattern runs this deep, can it ever change? Here's what changes everything. Understanding that your silence isn't your identity, it's a strategy your nervous system chose when you were too young to choose anything else. A 2021 study from Stanford followed adults with lifelong communication anxiety through voice exposure therapy. After 8 months, brain scans showed decreased amygdala reactivity and increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for conscious choice rather than automatic fear response. The brain can unlearn the equation: speaking equals danger. Let me tell you what happened to Daniel. 4 months into therapy, his therapist gave him an assignment that terrified him. Speak up once in every meeting for 2 weeks. Doesn't matter what you say. Just make your voice heard. The first time, Daniel's heart was pounding so hard he thought everyone could hear it. He forced himself to say, "I agree with Sarah's point about the user interface." 7 words. Nothing profound. But his nervous system was screaming, "Danger. Everyone is judging you. You sound like an idiot." Except, nothing bad happened. Sarah smiled. Someone nodded. The meeting continued. Daniel's brain was shocked. The catastrophe it predicted never came. The second practice, the thought record. Every time Daniel had the impulse to speak but stayed quiet, he had to write down what he feared would happen. They'll think I'm stupid. I'll say something wrong and everyone will laugh. They'll realize I don't belong here. Then he had to write the evidence for and against each fear. Evidence for, literally none except his feelings. Evidence against. He had a master's degree, years of experience, and had never actually been laughed at in a professional setting. The fears were real. But they weren't true. This is the work, separating trauma-based predictions from actual data. The third technique, the 5-second rule. Daniel's therapist taught him this. When you have an impulse to speak, you have 5 seconds before your fear brain takes over. Count down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then speak. Don't think. Don't calculate. Just talk. It felt reckless, dangerous, completely out of control. But slowly something shifted. 6 months later, Daniel was in a product meeting. The team was stuck on a problem. He felt the familiar impulse to speak, and the familiar wave of fear. But this time he counted, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What if we approached it from the user's perspective instead of the technical limitations? Silence. Then his manager said, "That's actually brilliant. Let's explore that." Daniel's face flushed. But this time not with shame. With something he hadn't felt in years: pride. So here's how to know if your silence is protective rather than preferential. Ask yourself, do you have things to say but can't make yourself say them? Do you replay conversations afterward, wishing you'd spoken up? Do you feel relief when someone else says what you were thinking? Do you fear being judged more than you value being heard? Do you feel invisible even in rooms full of people who care about you? If you said yes to any of these, listen carefully. Your silence isn't your personality. It's your protection. And you don't have to carry it anymore. Because here's what they don't tell you about quiet people. They're not broken. They're not antisocial. They're not less than. They're people whose nervous systems learned that disappearing was safer than being seen. But here's the truth that will set you free. The danger you're protecting yourself from? It's not in the room anymore. The parent who dismissed you. The sibling who mocked you. The teacher who humiliated you. They're not here. But your 8-year-old nervous system doesn't know that yet. And every time you stay silent out of fear, you're reinforcing the lie that your voice is dangerous. A 2023 study on post-traumatic growth and communication found that people who intentionally challenge their silence patterns don't just speak more. They report feeling more authentic, more connected, and more alive. Because they're no longer performing invisibility. They're practicing presence. And that changes everything. The quiet person doesn't need to become loud. They need permission to exist at full volume, whatever that means for them. And it starts with one small act of courage. Speaking when every cell in your body is screaming to stay silent. Tonight, I want you to try something. Think of one thing you wanted to say today but didn't. Now say it out loud. Right now. Even if you're alone. Hear your own voice expressing your own thought. That's not practice. That's proof. Proof that your voice exists. That your thoughts matter. That you're allowed to take up space in the world. One sentence. 5 seconds of courage. That's how healing begins, not by becoming someone else but by finally letting yourself be heard. And here's my question for you. What would your life look like if your voice wasn't something you had to earn permission to use? What would you say if you knew no one would judge you? And why are you still letting ghosts from your past decide whether you speak or disappear? Comment below. Because your silence has protected you long enough. Maybe it's time to find out who you are when you're not hiding.